Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, August 11th, and the church celebrates the memory of St. Clare of Assisi. The first reading for today's Mass comes from St. Paul's letter to the Philippians, in which he writes, "Brothers and sisters, I consider everything as a loss, because of the supreme good of knowing Jesus Christ, my Lord. For his sake, I have accepted the loss of all things, and I consider them so much rubbish, that I may gain Christ and be found in him." St. Clare is known to be among the most fervent followers of St. Francis. She established a religious community of women, a sister community to Francis's community for men. She was born in the year 1193. She came from a noble family. She was well-spoken and graceful. When she was 18 years old, Francis came to her parish church and preached the Lenten mission. His words enkindled a fire in her heart to follow his example in renouncing all things for the sake of the gospel. She sought Francis out secretly for a spiritual direction, and he encouraged her to follow her desire to leave all things for Christ. On Palm Sunday in 1212, she ran away from home and joined a small band of men who were gathering around St. Francis. They welcomed her at the door of the chapel, and St. Francis gave her a rough tunic made of sackcloth, and he cut off her hair as a sign of her renunciation of all things. Francis placed Clare with a nearby community of Benedictine sisters. When her family learned of the decision, however, they came to retrieve her. But she stood steadfast and went to the chapel altar and grabbed hold of it. The story goes that they tried to physically remove her, but she clung so tightly that they only succeeded in removing her clothes. When her sister Agnes joined her, Francis placed the two of them in a small shelter next to the church where he was living, and he appointed Clare the superior. Others came to share their life, including Clare's mother. Clare established monasteries for women throughout Germany and Italy. They're today known as the Poor Clares. St. Clare adopted Francis's love of poverty and humility, and her community followed her example. They wore nothing on their feet and slept on the ground. They fasted from meat and observed the discipline of silence as much as possible. Clare was known to go even further in her mortifications. She wore a hair shirt and intensified her fasting by eating only bread and drinking water during Lent. And some days, she ate nothing at all. Over time, with the encouragement of St. Francis, she learned discretion and balance in her disciplines and urged others who followed her to do the same. Clare led her community for 40 years as superior, and she sought out the most menial tasks. When her sisters returned from begging for alms, she washed and kissed their feet. She served at table during meals, and she helped the sick. She stayed up late in prayer, and when others had gone to sleep, she would check on them and tuck in their blankets that had come loose. People noticed an extraordinary holiness about Clare. They saw her face shining brightly after she had spent time in prayer. Her intercession is credited with saving the city of Assisi during several military campaigns. She spent the last 27 years of her life suffering from illness, and she was frequently confined to bed, where she would sew linens for the altar. Her illness took a life-threatening turn in 1253, and when it was clear that she would not recover, her community gathered around her weeping. But she told them, "Go forth without fear, for God who created you has sanctified you. God will always protect you, for he loves you as his own. Blessed be you, O God, for having created me." St. Clare, you followed St. Francis's radical faithfulness to the gospel, and you led other women to do the same. Pray for us, both now and at the hour of our death.